Hi again, everybody. This time we're going to read from Exodus chapter 21, verses 22 through 27. And I brought this picture up before starting the video and thought it's kind of a metaphorical representation of behind the men with the gold and the treasure and the scepters and the power is the dragon. The dark side, the reptile, the horned beast, the winged serpent. I think there's plenty of you can see what that is, what it represents that way. Let's start with a little bit more from Revealing God's Treasure, and then we'll read from Exodus.
Jesus is risen. He is our substitute and redeemer. Praise the Lord. Now, in the place where he was crucified, there was a garden, and in the garden a new tomb, in which no one yet been laid. From this we know the crucifixion site was near a garden and a tomb, the areas we've been inspecting thus far. So this is what we have: Golgotha, the place of the skull, to our right, and the garden tomb to our left. And in between, we have the crucifixion site of Christ. Jerusalem was built on Mount Moriah, outlined here in blue. This is where God asked Abraham to sacrifice Isaac 2,000 years before Christ.
The same
God
place.
instead offered his own son to be sacrificed on this same mountain. The area outlined in green is the northern portion of the mountain, and the highest area of Moriah, where Golgotha is located.
Right there.
This area is of special interest. The limestone escarpment shown here has Roman cutouts in the stone that were used during crucifixions. To the left is a horizontal slot where the Roman army standard would have been displayed. The large cutout is where a sign would have been placed: Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. It has an arched top and a flat shelf. Our Art Discovery International team found similar cutouts in Israel, at Caesarea Philippi. They had a curved top and a flat shelf where signs or objects were placed. The earth quaked, and the rocks were split. A large fissure or crack in the escarpment starts at the top of the escarpment and then extends down the face of the rock. Today, part of the fissure has been filled in. It connects with the cutouts where the signs were placed. We now present...
Yeah, we'll check that out just after we do this reading. And for those of you that haven't heard the rest of what they're about to talk about, it is really, really fascinating and worth knowing. But I won't jump ahead on that one. So let's go over to the Bible and read Exodus chapter 21, verses 22 through 27. If men chiden, and man smiteth a woman with child, and so that he maketh the child dead born, but the woman overlieth, he shall be subject to the harm, as much as the husband of the woman axeth, and the judges deem. But if the death of her sueth, and he shall yield life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, brinning for brinning, wound with shedding of blood for wound with shedding of blood, a wan wound for a wan wound. If a man smiteth the eye of a servant, either of handmaid, and maketh him one-eyed, he shall deliver him free for the eye which he put out. Also, if he smiteth out a tooth from his servant, either handmaid, in like manner he shall deliver them free. And now, King James, if men strive and hurt a woman with child, so that her fruit depart from her, and yet no mischief follow, he shall be surely punished, according as the woman's husband will lay upon him, and he shall pay as the judges determined. And if any mischief follow, then thou shalt give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. And if a man smite the eye of his servant, or the eye of his maid, that it perish, he shall let him go free for his eye's sake. And if he smite out his manservant's tooth, or his maidservant's tooth, he shall let him go free for his tooth's sake. So ends the reading. And now let's listen to the next segment from Revealing God's Treasure, and it's not this kind of treasure. It's the real kind of treasure.
The most important material on earth, the discovery of the Ark of the Covenant and the evidence it holds. Although photographs of this find will not be shown today, we do have the faithful witness of Ron Wyatt, whose credibility was established through the other discoveries we have already seen thus far. The Lord used Mr. Wyatt to find other discoveries, so we can trust his testimony regarding this most important find. In God's appointed time, we will all see this incredible discovery. Here now is Ron Wyatt and the Ark of the Covenant.
I find Ron very credible.
I had had an unusual experience. The Lord had helped me find the remains of Noah's Ark. He had helped me find the remains of Egyptian chariot parts and horse parts and people parts in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aqaba. And I had gone to the Middle East with my sons. We had trained as divers, scuba divers, and we were going to get some of those chariot parts out. Well, due to my carelessness, I got sunburned to the point that my legs swelled up, my feet, and all of this, and I couldn't get my diving equipment on. So I was up in Jerusalem, hobbling around, feeling very, very rained on, waiting for my cheap airline ticket, the date that was on it, to arrive so we could fly home. We didn't have the money to change the ticket. And during this time, I was hobbling around the city a little bit. And one day I met this archaeologist who was in charge of the Jerusalem area there. And why he should be talking to me, I don't have a clue. I didn't look very presentable. We were staying in a youth hostel, sleeping in our clothes. I'm sure I didn't smell very good. Maybe I was fortunate enough that he was upwind from me or something. But anyway, we got into a conversation, and I told him about Noah's Ark, and then I explained to him how the pyramids were built, and that seemed to get his attention. So he says, I've been doing some digging along this cliff face here. He says, how about coming along with me and have a look at it and see what you think? So I was walking along, looking. These were Roman ruins and remains. And my left hand suddenly pointed out at a grubby-looking hole in the rock where there was garbage, 2 dead cats, just, shall we say, nasty stuff. And my mouth said, that's Jeremiah's grotto, and the Ark of the Covenant is in there. This guy said, that's wonderful. He said, we will let you excavate there, and we'll provide you a place to stay, your food, your laundry. I can, understand why he mentioned laundry. But I couldn't understand the Jewish person being that generous. That's not their nature. And I was stunned because I had not been thinking about the Ark of the Covenant at all. Wondering why on earth we hadn't been able to get some chariot wheels out. You see, I pray about everything, folks. I did back then too. I knew I was supposed to be there. But what I thought I was supposed to be there for was not what I was supposed to be there for. So anyway, our ticket was due to the date it finally arrived, and it was the next morning after we had this conversation, or after I had the conversation with this man. So I said, well, that's great, I'll come back and do that. Now I've got to go home, you know, and make some preparations. So anyway, I went home wondering why on earth the Ark of the Covenant could possibly be in that place. So I read in in 2 Kings chapter 25, where it says that the whole city was surrounded by a siege wall. So anyway, I became persuaded that the Ark of the Covenant was indeed in that place, because I knew some supernatural force had used my arm and my voice. When it first happened, I didn't know which one. And we're instructed to try the spirits to see whether they be of God. We can't flatter ourselves and say anything that comes out of my mouth because I pray and all of this. But anything I say must be from God. We have to check it against the law and the testimony, regardless of where it comes from, even ourselves. But what I discovered when I started excavating down that cliff wall, first of all, I discovered the cutouts in the wall of the cliff where they had posted the signs, Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. I found the cross holes.
That he did. Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Wyatt. We'll listen to more in the next segment. And until then, my friends, hope to see you there. Of the dragon beware. And of your love freely share.